ਉੱਠ ਨਾਮ ਜਪ ਚੱਲਾਂਗੇ ਉੱਠ ਨਾਮ ਜਪ।
Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Welcome to lesson 4. So in this week's lesson we are going through the next few lines of the first Shabad, still in Rag Gauri Pipki. So nit nit jire samalian dekhega devanhar, tere dane कीमत na pave tis date kavan sumar. So in these two lines here, Guru Sahib, Guru Nanak Dev Ji we're still on the first Shabad. He's talking about a concept that, there's a bit of a misconception going on in our community about this, so we're going to try to clear that up today. The lines itself talking about nit nit jire samalian dekhega devanhar. So just as the giver God has taken care of you, he will keep taking care of you. And going into the next line here further, you can't put a value on his gifts. His gifts are eternal. Everything that he has given us is directly from him. We have not created anything ourselves. Everything is coming from him. So this misconception happening in our community lately especially is that if you want to get closer to Sikhi, if you want to become more religious, more spiritual, then for some reason it's as if you can choose that or having material success. These days people are saying that if you're religious, you have to sort of live in a certain lifestyle. You can't have a nice car. You can't have a nice house. You can't have nice clothes to wear. You have to live in somewhat of an extremely modest way, almost in poverty. I've talked to a lot of people, especially undergrads, that are saying if you're not working in this type of a job or you're not doing this type of work after graduation, that somehow that's not acceptable in Sikhi. But Guru Nanak Dev Ji talks about here saying if you do come closer to Sikhi, if you do become more religious, more spiritual, if you take Amrit down the line, you can still have all of those material successes that perhaps you wanted before as well. If your job has you doing honest work, you're working hard, you're not cheating anyone, and you're remembering God while doing all of that work, you're doing his Simran throughout the day. You're treating people with respect, you're being kind, you're working as hard as you can, you're doing your git honestly. If you're doing all of that, then there's absolutely nothing wrong with having money as well. You can have that nice car, you can have that nice house, and still be a good Sikh, as long as the way you earn those material things are in line with Sikh principles. And also, you have to give back your time as well, doing your seva, giving your dasvan, your 10% to charity as well. If your job makes you so busy, so completely overwhelmed that you have no time to focus on others, on helping others, or doing things for your faith, that's crossing the line. If you're keeping all the money for yourself, you're not giving it to anyone to help others, or help the Panth, or help anyone in need around the world, that's a problem. But if you're doing those things, and also you're not overly attached to your material items, if you understand that, hey, all of this stuff that I have is all because of his grace, it's not because of my hard work, it's because of him giving it to me, blessing me with it, and you not being overly attached to it, meaning you understand it's temporary, then Guru Nanak Sahib says that, he gives you all these gifts and that's okay. You don't have to give up those things to get on this path. You think about it logically, for almost all of us here that may not be doing exactly everything we should be doing to getting closer to him, but despite that, he's giving us so much anyway, right? If I'm not getting up at Amrit Vela to do my Nitnem, and I'm not listening or learning Kirtan and Rag, if I'm not practicing any sort of remembrance whatsoever, right? But still, despite that, he gives me food to eat, he gives me a family, he gives me friends, an education, a job. Despite me not even doing what he wants me to do, he gives me so much. So just imagine if you start doing what he tells you to do, how much more you'll get in return, right? It's not logical to think, oh, now that I'm walking on his path, he's going to take things away from me. No, it's the opposite, right? If you do something that someone wants, he's more likely to give you more things in return. So this idea here, this misconception needs to be cleared up, that you can have, your material items that you want, and you can still be in line with Sikh principles. Okay? As long as we just talked about, you earned the money honestly, you didn't cheat anyone, you worked as hard as you could, you were in line with Sikh principles while doing that work, you're not overly attached to those material things, you give all credit to God, for He was the one that gave you these, you didn't earn it yourself, it was blessed by Him, and you're giving your 10% daswand. You're at your minimum 10% daswand, your 10% of your income to charity, and your job allows you to have time to do seva, to help others, and to continue your own spiritual path, learning kirtan and rag, doing your part, meditating, practicing all forms of Simran. So as long as you can do that, Guru Nanak Sahib says He will keep giving you all these things. You don't have to worry. So if you're thinking right now, saying, I would love to get on this path, I'd love to take Amrit, I'd love to start keeping my case, or I'd love to start, just doing more Path, learning Kirtan, but I'm afraid if I do this, somehow my professional life will get damaged, my academic life will get damaged. Please don't believe that at all. There's so many people that I know personally that have started going on this path, and actually their professional and academic lives have actually become a lot easier. Things have just started making more sense, and it's as if someone is working behind the scenes to make everything easier for them. So please don't be under any misconception that this is an either-or situation where I can choose Sikhi or a successful professional career. You can have both here. Guru Nanak Sahib tells us that here, that he is the giver. He's given us so much. So if you come on His path, don't be afraid that somehow He will stop giving, or he will in any way harm you whatsoever in that decision-making process. And then most at the end as well, Guru Nanak Sahib is saying that His gifts are endless. They're eternal, so they're never going to stop either. So again, don't be under the assumption that somehow one day that's it, they're going to end. No, He's going to keep giving and keep giving. There's no end to these gifts here. So those two lines again, talking about this distinction happening between material wealth, material success, and Sikhi, and getting rid of the misconception that you have to choose between the two. Rather, you can have both. So after this, you guys are going to be doing another activity today, which I hope you enjoy. And with that, I will see you next week. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.